Tyson. He got it. The starter. Mike Tyson in. Austin is the champion. Stone Cold. Stone Cold. Stone Cold. Now the 2-2. Well hit down the left field line. Way back in.
Touch them all, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life.
Achieved his dream and the dream of everyone else who's been told you can't do it. No, you can't do it. You can't do it. No matter what, got money on my mind, I can never get it up. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
Let's talk connection. Welcome to the WAR Wrestling Above Replacement. We honor all the legends and their wonderful music throughout wrestling history here. JT and Marcus come at you every other Thursday. Simulcast show, both audio and video, like a lot of our content here, but we do have some unique stuff. So be sure to subscribe in any podcast application to the North South Connection podcast feed, as well as on YouTube, as well at North South Connection and TikTok. We do a lot of short stuff there too. So just get involved, subscribe, share, love, like, comment. Do it all, just like we do it all here at the North South Connection. Marcus here on this podcast. You and I are watching every pay-per-view in WWE history. We're ranking them in a seasonal format, which means we start with the first pay-per-view following WrestleMania in any given calendar year, and we wrap up with WrestleMania the following year. The season started at Backlash 05. We close it out tonight with WrestleMania 22. We watch all these pay-per-views, factor in a plus-minus system. So if you think of everything as replacement level, average match, average commentary, average build. Anything we like better than that, we give a plus. Anything we dislike below that, give a minus. If something's very good or very bad, it's a +2, -2. If it's all-time good or all-time shit, we give it a +3, -3. Scramble that all up in a series of categories. Every match we grade, give your grade, my grade. We average that out, total it all up, tally it all up, and that gives us our final WAR score, and then we're going to stack rank every pay-per-view and every season ever. Marcus, what are the categories that we do on the show to rank these?
I have to point out this is episode 69.
It's very nice. Yeah, you okay? Yeah, you really like that, huh?
I really did. Oh man. All right, I'm good now. I'm good. I'm not good. But we start off with build, followed by commentary, atmosphere, notable moments, and important our match grades, card structure, rewatchability, and all-time matches. And for us, an all-time match, for it to be a plus, is something we both rate is 4.25 and above. For it to be a minus is something we both agree and rate is 0.75 and below.
And here on episode 69, we'll see who's on top and who's on bottom throughout the night of WrestleMania 22. I will say there is one match that we're going to talk about that's very fitting to be part of episode 69 as well. So, all right, let's dive right in. We're going to finish the season, and then later on this episode, we'll do our year-end awards that we do at the end of every season. Are you good? Do you need to stop for a minute, or you going to compose yourself?
Just say dive right in. That's one that got me. All right.
Okay, relax.
Try to be good. All right.
Just trying to get to the finish here, you know. April 2nd, 2006, the Rosemont Horizon in Rosemont, Illinois. We're back in Chicago, where it's been the home to multiple WrestleManias to this point. 17,155 in attendance. Of course, it's a multi-brand pay-per-view. So we have Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler, Joey Styles, Michael Cole, and Taz. Yes, Jim Ross back in the fold. They didn't trust old Joey to call WrestleMania, so they go ahead and bring JR back. Joey gets his one match. He still gets Raw, but they bring in JR for Mania. So we'll talk more about that both tonight and in a future season when we get back to this era. We had one pre-show match. That's Viscera winning a Battle Royal, eliminating Snitsky into promotional Battle Royal. So that gets us going. And then our first match of the pay-per-view itself features Big Show and Kane successfully defending the tag team titles over Carlito and Chris Masters. They're a random team there. But, they're fun. We saw them work together a little bit at New Year's Revolution as well. 275 for that opener from me, Marcus. Big Show and Kane have been fine as a tag team. This definitely gets the crowd going. They're into the opening. They're into the intros. They keep it tight, in and out. A couple of big spots, and we're done.
Yeah, 2.75 for me, too. You get the established acts with Big Show and Kane. They're fine. Kane continues to set things on fire with the Chicago Fire for the entrance. That was really cool. Pretty cool highlight. And Carlito, he's got his groove back. Really felt like Carlito is back here. We've seen him have a tough back end of the stretch here of the season.
Yeah, ever since he got punked out by Flair in front of Tori or whatever it was.
Yeah. But yeah, 2.75 for me as well. And that takes us to our second match, which is the second ever Money in the Bank ladder match. Our contestants are Matt Hardy, Ric Flair, Rob Van Dam, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin and Finlay. I went 4.25. Just a little off from the inaugural one, but this was still really good stuff and still high enough on my end to be an all-time match. Of course, Rob Van Dam pulls down the briefcase as well, which will set up a exciting, I think, mid-portion of the 2006-2007 season whenever we get to that.
It's a great Money in the Bank. There are some I think that have it as one of the best ever. I think it's right below that. Like I said, 05 to me is a little bit better. This has the weird thing with Flair, as he's doing we could talk about last episode, the Randy the Ram stuff. So he's in this hardcore match. He takes a crazy bump off the ladder, gets carted out halfway through. He comes back. And yeah, RVD gets the big win coming back from the injury. Really cool moment for him. And he'll set up a really memorable cash in a future season for us. But fun stuff here, 4.25 for me. We roll on. JBL upsets Chris Benoit to win the U.S. title, 3.25. This was a big surprise to me at the time. I thought for sure Benoit was going to retain. JBL won. It was a pretty big upset in my eyes. And again, they don't want to quit him. They keep just giving him more gold, strapping him up. And very memorable entrance to JBL. The one where the ramp opens up and he rides down the limo. That's really cool. And it's a good stiff match. I like it as a match. It's all built around JBL's broken hand. Benoit targets it the whole match, but JBL hooks the ropes and gets the win. So it's definitely a kind of a sneaky, fun little Mania match.
3.5 for me. I absolutely love the contact in this match. It felt different from anything else that we're going to get all night. And I know in retrospect, of course, then we didn't know what was going to happen with Benoit, but just kind of dropping in and looking at this in the moment, this feels the closest that they've done to a true Eddie Guerrero tribute match. You got JBL, who is propped up in this main event, top guy picture because of the feud with Eddie. They'll always be synonymous. And then you get Benoit, the longtime friend of Guerrero as well. So this one felt like the true Eddie Guerrero tribute match. And of course, in ring and delivered as well. It was hard hitting, told a great story, excellent contact.
JBL's always shows us to be very cunning. Very cunning in the ring as well. So that really shows up here in this match where he steals it from Benoit.
Without a doubt. Next up, we have Mick Foley looking for his WrestleMania moment taking on the Rated R superstar and former WWE champion Edge. And this is contested under hardcore rules.
Yeah.
It's a no doubter 5 for me. I didn't have a lot of doubt going into watching this, and then rewatching it just really confirmed it for me. It's a wonderful display of like spot progression and also like weapon progression as well. Like everything is raised up. Every weapon that they use, it builds to the next thing and it builds to the next thing until you get the big fiery ending with the table and an all-time spectacle bump. So yeah, no doubt are 5 stars for me.
Yeah, 5 for me too. It's a classic. It holds up. It's 15 minutes. It is nonstop action. It is, I'd say, probably the most violent match in WrestleMania history. I mean, there's been really like hard hitting stuff. There's been some blood before, but to me, this is like the most violent, leaning in the hardcore style match they've ever done at Mania. You get the fire, you get the blood, you get thumbtacks, you get the barbed wire. It's got everything. The 6th spot is where Foley puts the mandible claw at the barbed wire on Lita, and she's like, her mouth is all sliced open. And then, of course, the spear through the table that's on fire is an awesome moment. Edge shaking in the aisle after. But it's, it's a big match for both guys, right? It's a big match for Edge, who felt like he got fucked out of being world champion at Mania. So he had a point to prove, and he ends up stealing the night with the best match on the card. And then you have Foley, who had a history of coming up short at Mania. Even at 20, which is a great match, wasn't him delivering that solo WrestleMania moment. That was more about Rock and making Orton. So he never had that all-time classic. So Foley finally gets his happy ending here. I went 5 stars, just an all-timer. And they'll run it back in a few months, in a different format, right, as partners, with another violent brawl. And we talked about this a bit throughout the season, but this stretch from, late 05 to early 07 is sneakily one of the most violent eras of WWE. Like, you think about the Attitude Era and even like 91, which is very dark, but this is really one of the most like violent, extreme periods that they do. And it's captured a lot throughout this night. So great match there and a wonderful finish. This next match isn't as great, but it's, again, more of a moment. Boogeyman defeats Booker T and Sharmell by pinfall in an intergender handicap match. Booker and Sharmell make it work because they're so good with their comedic timing. But it definitely feels like a step back for them after the U.S. title series. And Booker's set up for some big things in the next month or so. So this, again, felt like could have been a segment more than a match. Maybe he stalks him to the ring and runs him off or something. The highlight is really the freak parade that we get before the match, where Goldust goes to his old partner and tries to kind of tell him to embrace his inner freak. And you got, Paul Burchill, the Pirate. You got, who else is there? Is it, Snitsky licking Mayo's foot.
Yeah.
DiBiase kicks the ball from Eugene. So it's, it kind of sets up like, I don't know, they might have been one the year before, but I think it's like kind of the first, like, becomes an annual thing with the Legends doing a funny backstage segment. They kind of do it over the next few years. So that ends up being the highlight of the match for me.
Take those worms, Booker.
I'll tell you what
worms.
To do with them. Do with them.
I went 2. Weird chemistry, weird bumping, but again, it's short. I really find Boogeyman entertaining. Probably shouldn't be having matches, but it is at least it's something different, man. It's kind of like unforgettable stuff.
I gave it a 1. I mean, it's not all time bad. It's just
yeah. We get a women's title match next, as it is Trish Stratus losing the WWE Women's title to Mickie James. The culmination of this story. I went 4.5. I absolutely love this match. I think it held up tremendously. I know I'm running really high on it, but it's a really good story. They really deliver with it. They had all their beats along the way. And I think the match really, it's a lot of all-time moments. But also bell to bell, the match. It's excellent. And the atmosphere, the crowd for this one also really helps like boost this one up.
Yeah, it's the War episode 69 pleasure match of the night for sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the feud's been great, right? The whole time. Mickey professing her love and finally, snapping as a stalker. And just she is, we've used this word a lot this season, but completely unhinged in this match. Like she's cackling, she's laughing and smiling to the crowd like a maniac. And then, it kind of sucks. It's kind of, it's cut from all future releases, but in the moment was like shocking. And it's still out there if you look on YouTube. But, she basically pulls the old Trump on Trish, grabs her in the privates during a move, and then puts her hand up and licks it. And the crowd just falls in love and loses their shit. The other cut here is the botch on the Stratisfaction that was supposed to be reversed. So they, to their credit, they don't really fully repeat it, but they just get up. Mickey just kicks her and pins her and wins the title in a massive pop. I mean, the crowd completely sided with her, especially after the big grab. So I went 3.25. To me, it's more of a moment than a match, but it's iconic. To this point, it's definitely the best women's match they had in a big spot. And Mickey really sets herself up as being like a top player in the women's division coming off of this. So great stuff. Up next is a casket match. We had talked about last episode. What is Undertaker going to do at Mania? He ends up just getting stuck on Mark Henry. And I don't really keep meaning to deride Mark Henry. He just hasn't been booked as like a main event level guy. And then he's just thrown into the main events. So this is kind of one of the more forgettable streak matches for Taker. That said, I don't think it's as bad as people who put it toward the bottom of his Mania matches. I think it's just fine. I went 2.75. It's okay. There's just no drama to it. Like there's no believability that Henry's going to end the streak. The casket gimmick adds a little bit something to it. It also takes Daivari out of the mix. Finally, Taker had almost run him off at Bash when he ended Hassan's career, and now he finishes him off here for all intents and purposes.
Ended his life.
Yeah, pretty much. So, so this is it. Taker gets another win at Mania and nothing else. We'll see where he proceeds from here. But, coming off the Angle match to this, definitely felt like a little bit of a downgrade.
Yeah, 2.75 for me. It's good variety. At least they did something different. It's always fun with the big man and the caskets and being afraid. Like, it's tropey stuff, but it's fine. Follows a formula. So it's good enough for 2.75 for me. Definitely not even close to bad. And again, adds variety to the card. So I appreciate that. We get more variety as we've got Shawn Michaels defeating Mr. McMahon. Was this just no DQ? Was there an official? Wasn't a Chicago street fight. It was.
I think it's like a no holds barred,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Or let me see if it has it here. Yeah, no holds barred.
Okay. Once again,
my partner in crime.
Much like the Foley and Edge match, how it's a showcase of like spot progression and escalation of danger. It's the same thing with this. Vince gets a couple spots in, and it's always cut off because of the Spirit Squad, or it's because of Shane, or he does something underhanded. But so much of this match is like Shawn giving it back to Vince and giving him like his comeuppance and building like the next horrible thing he's going to do to Vince, and teasing the super kick and teasing the super kick. And he finally hits it, and the place goes crazy. You get the big elbow drop off the really, really, really big ladder. It's just really good stuff. And then, you get Vince. The blade job itself doesn't seem horrible, but then when he's down the canvas, you get the pooling of the blood, and like that's always good. So I went 5. And yeah, I went 5 on a Shawn match. Don't say I never said anything good about him. But this was a masterclass. This was absolutely a masterclass. This is how good Shawn Michaels can be, and I wish he was this good more consistently.
On episode 69, Marcus goes 5 on a Shawn Michaels match where I did not. It's a great match. Is that you're done? You're done gushing?
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah,
right.
no more for me.
You finished. I went 4.5. It's a classic. Our buddy Aaron always talks about it being like one of the most cathartic matches in wrestling history, where Sean just beats the piss out of this guy and kind of does it on behalf of all those in the past that have been hosed by him, and kind of is like a makeup to Brett, right? Brett, we haven't talked about it too much, but he goes into the Hall of Fame. Infamously, they kind of put this bait out there for him to maybe get him to stick around, be the referee, interfere in the match. Doesn't take the bait, flies home the morning of Mania, so he's not at the show. So Sean kind of does it for him. He just destroys this guy, and this is a really good empty the tank match, which are my favorite. When we don't get it, it pisses me off. Where this is a throw everything at the wall, and this is one of the things I liked about WrestleMania 40. Right, it's like the biggest match. The most dire circumstance is when the whole fleet gets deployed, right? So Vince has the Spirit Squad out there. He's got Shane out there. Like, it's chaos. Sean fights them all off and puts this guy down. One of the best moments when he breaks the Muscle and Fitness blowed up cover over his head. I mean, Vince just looks absurd. He's so tan and juiced out of his fucking mind here. And to me, the only negative to this, and it's not the fault of the match, is that the feud goes like another 6 months after this. This felt like a feud ender, and it really is almost just the beginning. And I think that hurts it a little bit in my mind, where this feels like, I think you could argue this should have been the end of Mr. McMahon with the way this beating goes on. Like, Shawn just eviscerates him. You could argue this should have been the end of the character, and that's it. Like, Shawn destroys him and he's gone. Obviously not the case, and there's other options down the road where they could have done that. But, I think most glaringly probably is 26. A few years later with Brett, when Brett does show up, I think that would have been the perfect ending to Mr. McMahon as a character. Ends where it started with Brett. I think that could have been the way to do it, but here could have also worked if they wanted to. So, super memorable, really well done. JR's in his bag here, right? He still owes Vince one for Mr. Heine, Dr. Heine in the fall. So he's like going ape shit on commentary in this match. He's just losing his freaking mind all throughout it. So 4.5 from me. We followed it up with our world title match. So we just keep rolling. This card is loaded. Rey Mysterio finally cashes in, wins the world title, defeats Kurt Angle and Randy Orton, comes through on his promise from winning the Rumble. And we get Eddie back. He owes Eddie, does it for Eddie. This match is the best part of this entire stupid angle. It's only 9 minutes. They get hosed again. Ray gets hosed again. They do not get a lot of time, but this is an epic sprint. I mean, if you like sprints, this is a sprint. Like, they do not stop for 9 minutes. They cram a ton of shit in. Angle's in pure God mode. Orton is working his ass off, and Ray gets the big win. I think this holds up. It exceeds. I went 3 3/4, which, I mean, for a 9-minute match is, it's pretty wild. They ball out. And this felt like the first time where Ray really earned it and felt like paid off. And I wish they would have gone from here, but unfortunately it's just a blip. It's the only positive I think of this whole push, because this is downhill from here for him. But in the moment, it's great.
Yeah, 9 minutes, all show and all go though. 3.75 for me as well. This is kind of in the upper echelon of triple threat matches, I think, just because of the time restraints on it. Kind of gets boosted up a little bit. But again, incredible action in this. Ray finally picks up the win. But yeah, the crowd is all about Angle here, and it's really tough, I think, pulling the title off of him at this point. He's
so good.
Yeah. So we get a Let Me Up match next. Is it like Playboy Pillow Fight? I think something
so.
like that.
It's Playboy Pillow Fight. Yeah.
It's Tori Wilson and our cover girl for WWE edition of Playboy this year, Candice Michelle. Oh no, this is Ashley's year, right? Or is Ashley next year? Ashley's the next year. This is Candice.
Yeah, this is Candice. Yeah.
Yeah. But we get 1 point. I gave 1.5 for this one. They actually try to do some wrestling moves with the bed in the ring. So it's admirable, but if this probably should have just been cut, and I hate to, say that about the women, but it's the only thing this whole night that really feels like, what are we doing here?
And it honestly wasn't even that bad. Like, I was expecting worse. I would have started a half. It's actually okay. Like, they do okay with it.
Yeah.
I probably would have put this on Heat or whatever to get the crowd jazzed up. And then given this goes 7 minutes, and that's without intro. So give 7 to that world title match. Let them go 15 and cook. And then maybe you could have incorporated this into Boogeyman and Charmel and Booker somehow. Maybe like mix it all together and make it more of a thing. Maybe they're in the back on the bed fighting during the freak segment or something, and like they all stop and look at them fighting on the bed. I don't know. Maybe you could have just done something to like wrap that all together and just go hard with that world title match because they deserve the time for sure. And again, not that Tori and Candice didn't. It just was an ill fit for this show.
Yeah.
Which is our main event. John Cena successfully defends the WWE title against Triple H. He taps him out clean at WrestleMania to close the night. It's a great match. 4 stars. The atmosphere is amazing. It really carries a lot of the match. I think the match itself is actually just kind of basic. But they don't try and go outside their lane, which for once, Triple H has all these Mania littered with Mania matches where he goes outside his lane. And, we see it 18, 25, 32, 33, 34, 35. Right? Like he does all these freaking Manias. But at this one, for whatever reason, it clicked for him in this night where he's like, we're just going to run the play and we're not going to go beyond that. Like we're just going to, whatever the coordinator dialed up, we're going to run 22 minutes and they just go kind of power God match and they keep it basic. They keep it simple and the crowd carries them because the heat, they're pro Triple H, Cena's split, and they're into everything. And Cena taps him clean is a cool moment for him in his career. And yes, there's been a lot of questionable moments in this season for Cena that started at SummerSlam, but they do this one right on this night. Now the build is another story. I'll get to that in a minute. But on this night, Cena tapping Triple H is a big moment for him. The entrances are cool. They got the Tommy guns where Cena comes out as the gangster from Chicago. And of course, legendary CM Punk is one of the gangsters on the car. So that's really cool. Triple H gets an epic entrance with the King of Kings into the game. So it's a great main event. I think it's often overlooked, honestly, on kind of the pantheon of great Mania main events. It's just really solid. And strong. It's a great match.
Yeah, it is. It's 4 for me as well. It's really good. It is a really good match. Once again, carried by the atmosphere, like you said. And what I liked about this was with the finish, with the tap out. With WrestleMania, you want, is it a surprise debut? Is it a surprise return? Do you get somebody turning? You usually want some kind of angle or something at WrestleMania, some kind of surprise. The tap out served as the surprise angle.
Yes.
At WrestleMania this year, and that was really cool. How they did that, and it left some of the fans shocked, wanting more. Add another fall or something. Like you just had like this feeling of like there's got to be more, but there is no more. It's a clean tap out, and once again it goes to Triple H. You claim the wrestler's wrestler, and you get Cena end up tapping him out.
Well, and it's funny because they kind of make a big deal out of it. But it's really the second time in 3 years that Triple H tapped to the main event because he tapped to Benoit 2 years earlier. But that was more of like a bloodbath war, whereas this is just a fight. And it still felt earned. It still felt like a big moment for him to do it because he has done it so rarely, even though he had done it there. So yeah, it's a great main event of the show, and it's a great capper to a really strong season for Triple H. We'll talk about our awards, but he's really put in some work in this season. So good on him. So Marcus, we have a record. This is, to date, out of 126 pay-per-views that we've covered, our highest rated in-ring show.
Really?
10.5 war points in-ring. That nudges out SummerSlam 2015, which is 10.25, and TakeOver New York, surprisingly enough, it edges out. And that was 9.25. So it's, it's not a compiler either. It's not like a show that has, SummerSlam 15 was a little bit of a compiler. But this isn't like that huge of a card. It's a big card, but not massive. It just hits. It's a really strong show. And we're going to talk about more of it now. So let's get to our build. Here we go. We give a point for Carlito and Masters. They kind of have a hot and cold partnership. They're tilting here, but they get the title match. A point for Flair, continuing the old man, Randy the Ram, 2006 garbage run. A point for Benoit breaking JBL's hand to the build to the match, allows them to call back to it all night. A point for Edge and Foley having a personal feud built in well. Edge calls him a Muppet and a joke. Foley turning hardcore again because of it. So they really heat this up quickly to get Edge on track for Mania. 2 points to the long, twisty road for Mickey and Trish. To this point, it's the best built women's feud they ever did, easily, in having the blow off. I mean, Lita Trish had a lot of good stuff, but Mickey Trish here has really been wonderfully told. A point for Henry attacking Taker and costing him a rematch against Angle on SmackDown. Taker wipes out Daivari leading up to it. And then Vince torturing Shawn after he told him to move on from Montreal. So a really strongly well-built Mania.
Yeah. For our minuses, we got no real build for the or feud for the tag title match. Booker getting relegated to the Boogeyman nonsense. Maybe this is where we get the annual like so-and-so deserved more spot with Booker, but he's also been injured. We get the stupid approach with Ray. As we covered already, so he just adds them to the match.
So let's talk about that because
No Way Out. Yeah,
we've been kind of hinting at it last episode. So he loses a No Way Out, and then Teddy's just like, "Fuck it, you deserve to be in the world title match, so you're in the match." Like it's such a weak way. Like at least make him earn it. Say, "All right, Ray, if you can beat so and so, you get the match." And he just is like, "Yeah, you deserve it. You're back in." Like this build is just so poorly conceived, and it makes he needs help constantly. He barely survives the Rumble. Vicky and Chavo are helping him. Benoit's helping him. Now Teddy puts him back in the match. Like, it's not like he got screwed at No Way Out. I guess Orton hooked the ropes, but it's not like there was all this interference that hosed him. I mean, it just makes him look like such a bitch every turn.
Yeah. Again, there's no real fight for him to like get this main event. It's like him getting bailed out, like you said. So it's bad story all in. We get the dumb build to kneecap Cena. Once again, the wrestler versus, you can't wrestle, positioning him as an underdog with Triple H as the better worker.
Yeah, it was a terrible build. I mean, honestly, they pull out a great match, but Triple H just spends the whole build saying you suck. He just leans into all the stuff that they were trying to rehab after Angle and Jericho, and basically saying you're not a good wrestler. I'm a real wrestler. You don't know how to wrestle. You're lucky. It was a classic Triple H diminishing the guy story. +5 for build. All right, commentary, a lot going on here. A point for Cole, noting that only 5 men in WrestleMania history have won by submission, which is a great fun fact, Marcus. And we kind of went through and figured them out. The other 4, the other 5 besides Cena are Tito Santana at WrestleMania 1.
Okay.
Rick Martel at WrestleMania 6 over Coco.
Wwe Ricky Martel.
Ricky Strike Force coming strong. Kurt Angle beat Shawn Michaels by submission at WrestleMania 21. Chris Benoit at WrestleMania 20. And then the other one, in looking at it, has to be Bret Hart, who kind of has 2 questionable ones. He makes Backlund say, "I quit," but it was technically a submission match. Same with Austin, who passes out. Basically a submission. So he kind of did it twice, even though it's not like a clear submission. But those are the 5 in looking at it that are the before Cena tonight. We're now 6 men to get a submission win. So really cool point that Cole.
What do you say?
Point for Styles getting to call the hardcore match. I mean, they kind of screwed him out of Mania, but of any match he gets, that's the one, and he's awesome calling it. It's right in his wheelhouse. A point for Ross calling the fans crazy to support Mickey. It's kind of a fun way to acknowledge Mickey getting over with the crowd without doing the stupid Bizarro World. A point for Cole comparing Taker going 13-0 to the 72 Dolphins and DiMaggio's hit streak. Really started to play up the streak heavily now for Taker. 2 points for JR go God mode. We talked about it when Shawn destroys Vince. He just loses his mind. A point for Taz quickly addressing the boos of Ray, the cheers for Orton and Angle. They don't linger on it. They don't insult the crowd. Just calls it out. And then JR and King pointing out the Hunters playing up the card reaction to buy Cena time to recover was well done too. So they really kind of, buying time. Cena's pulling it back together and say, "Oh, look at Hunter. He's just playing up the crowd, heating him up." So they do a strong job of that match as well.
For our minuses, we get Styles getting bumped by JR after bailing out Raw.
Right. They should have done the opposite. They should have brought Ross in for Shawn and Vince and said, "Okay, he's going to come back and call that match." And let Joey or just do a 3-man booth. Let Joey be there for the whole show. He's worked hard he stepped in to save them. He deserved to be on the show for the whole time.
Yeah, there's something they could have figured out there. We get the annoying Raw versus SmackDown stuff still going on. That kind of feels like it's on its dying legs. We get King creeping on the women and JR enabling him all night. Calling him Father Jerry. I knew you would rise to the occasion for this match. I was going -2 for that.
It's awful. Like JR is such an enabler of all that stuff. Like, oh, Father Jerry. Like, we know he's a fucking creep ass. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. JR has to set up that the Chicago fans are going to cheer Triple H because they are traditional wrestling fans, because the build was so, backwards. Then he keeps doubling down on Cena not being liked by the older fans and how he's unorthodox. They really overtake the match with like that story. So we went -2 there with commentary.
Yeah, it's tough because there's some really good stuff, but some bad offsets it. All right, here's where we cash in, Marcus. It's a wild crowd. Atmosphere time. A point for the cool banners around the ring. We didn't talk about them, but they're really neat. They're like kind of artwork of each wrestler that's involved, and their end of legends are all around the bunting of the arena, and they leave them up for the next night for Raw, which is cool. Real strong America the Beautiful by Michelle Williams. A good opening video mixing in WrestleMania highlights for the top feuds. Big Time, one of the most iconic WrestleMania theme songs of all time by Peter Gabriel. It's great. A point for the Masterpiece entrance. A point, you talked about it, the Chicago Fire entrance is 3 years straight of Kane setting the entrance stage on fire at Mania. Looks really neat. A point for the big pop for RVD. A point for the big pop for Flair. A point for the ECW chants, all match for RVD. A point for the pop and moment for Eddie during the Hall of Fame segment, which is really well done. A point for JBL's entrance with the limo coming off front of the stage. A point for the all-time look for Edge and Lita. They got kind of the, I don't know what kind of pants you can call those, Kevlar, whatever the hell kind of pants they are. Yeah. Edge with the vest, Lita with the tits hanging out, all time. A point for Foley's big pop before and after the match. A point for the vibe during that match with the spots, the fire. The crowd is losing their mind. A point for the crowd being all in on Mickey. It's enveloped to the flow of the match. A point for Undertaker's entrance. A point for Vince doing the bloody middle finger exit as he's being carted out. Classic. A point for Ray's entrance. He comes out with the Aztec gear. POD's playing live. A point for the crowd being so into Angle. A point for King of Kings, which is an all-time theme. A point for Cena's with the gangster entrance. And then a point for the wild atmosphere that carries the main event. So just an all-time night when it comes to just crowd involvement, presentation, and everything else.
Let's see what minuses we got. We get a basic set. Again, we're stuck in the arena still. This will be the last of the arena WrestleManias. But it's a basic set. And look, beyond the banners, the banners are kind of the only thing they did to kind of jazz it up a little bit. And I guess the raising stage too, the ramp. The crowd is booing, showing and Kane. They're all into Carlito again. He's got his groove back. The crowd checks out on Boogie. Poor Boogie. Crowd's booing Ray on his big night too, and like he slips when he's trying to do the ring post 619, and like they eat him alive for that too. We get Cena, our top guy. He also gets booed in the WrestleMania main event. The chance of you can't wrestle, going against a longtime top heel in Triple H.
So that's a +17 for atmosphere, Marcus. And I'd say it's usually would be the best of any season or all time, but One Night Stand exists in this season. So that was a 26 for atmosphere. So that's still dwarfed by that, but it's pretty strong. Yeah. Like you mentioned, it is the final, arena mania as well. They're all stadiums from here on out. So kind of nuts to think about this far gone. 22, we're at 40. This is the last time they're in a standard arena. Pretty nuts.
We're getting close to half, a run of half.
And I think Chicago, if it's not going to be MSG, I think Rosemont was kind of a cool next choice, because I'd say it's probably the second best Mania arena, because it was 2 was there, had some memorable stuff. 13 was there, the greatest match of all time in company history, and now this one was here. So it's definitely a pretty memorable Mania setting, non-stadium edition. Obviously, you get the Silver Dome and the Sky Dome and all the Hoosier Dome and all that, but I think for in-ring, just arenas, I would say it goes MSG, Chicago, LA Sports Arena, probably the 3 big ones. I mean, Anaheim has the 2 Manias, but they both kind of suck, so fuck it. But all right, let's get to notable moments. A point for RVD returning from injury. It's his first pay-per-view since December of 2004. A point for RVD winning Money in the Bank. A point for JBL winning the U.S. title. A point for Foley gets his Mania moment. A point for the flaming table first time in WrestleMania history. We gave the max 3 for the big WrestleMania debuts: Lashley, Masters, and Boogie. Mickey wins the women's title. A point for that. A point for Mickey's taste test, we'll call it. A point for the first casket match in WrestleMania history, which is kind of nuts. It took this long. A point for Undertaker going 14-0. A point for Ray winning the world title. A point for CM Punk's WrestleMania debut, and especially as a gangster. And then a point for Triple H tapping out clean, which gives a big surprise moment to close out this Mania.
I forgot about an act that wasn't on the card. That was Eminem and the tag titles, not on the card after a
that's
fantastic
one
year. Yeah, they definitely get left out in the cold. We get Mr. Hitman dipping out on WrestleMania, despite the ready-made angle for him. That's kind of cool. Edge not giving the WrestleMania main event despite being captivating with his brief world title run and connecting as a ratings draw on Monday Night Raw. WWE cutting out in all future airings, Mickey's we call it the taste test, the sampling, and the botched Stratusfaction. We get Ray. He taps in a visual submission. Then he has to pull the ref out while Orton taps. He just looks weak at every turn, even in this match. Like, yes, there are some spots where he's working hard. He hits the Rana. That's super clean on Orton. But we went -2 still for how he's being presented, even in this main event match at WrestleMania.
Yep. So that gives us a 8 for notable moments. So pretty strong there. All right, let's head over to match grids. We mentioned 10.5. Card structure, we give a point for starting hot with the tag title match with the hot face team, big pop for Kane and Big Show. A point for Money in the Bank, now becoming a staple of Mania. Early in the show, it's a perfect spot every year. A point for giving Edge the big time sick match, just help to sting a no main event. So good for him. A point for, it's a fine spot for the Boogie nonsense. They cool the crowd down after the hardcore match. Fine. A point for the loaded card with big match after big match after big match. It is stacked. And then a point for the perfect stipulation for Shawn and Vince.
For our minuses, we get Flair getting taken out of Money in the Bank with the big superplex off the ladder. But then, he sells his knee. You don't really think about knees when you think about suplexes. You think about the back. Plus, you have the history of the plane crash. You think you'd be selling that. So it's just a weird choice there. The Taker match, it's a little weak. It's a weak spot on a loaded card. But again, it offers good variety. We get the World Heavyweight title match, not getting the time that it deserves. We get the Playboy Pillow fight on the same card as the Red Hot women's match earlier on in the night. And a proper feud as well. So that's reductive. We're taking steps backwards there. It probably should have been cut, like we said. Didn't really add anything to the show.
So that is a 2 for card structure, which is tough because it is such a good show. I had one quick correction. It's actually 9 for moments. So a little math error there, but that's fixed.
Okay.
All right. Rewatchability. A point for Spidey Shelton and Money in the Bank. Always hits with the crazy jumps. A point for Mean Gene to Orton to fuck off. Orton, he's I'm not dealing with your bullshit. This classic dismissive Mean Gene. A point for Lita. Just looks amazing. 3 points for all the hardcore bumps. Just every single one throughout that match is awesome. A point for Booker the Freak Magnet Gauntlet backstage. His wariness over Boogeyman. That's well done. A point for Taker's tope over the top, over the casket, and then hoisting Henry for the tombstone. That was really cool. A point for the sweet chin music on Vince from Shawn. A point for Vince's blade job just pooling on the canvas. And then Candice's tarantula. It was a little hachi-machi action there, so a point for that.
For our minuses, we get Flair almost dying on the ladder suplex. Grisham asked about the robust women. How many Snickers they put down? They say 11 combined. I wish that Bobby or Jesse was around for that segment.
Jesse would have been dying. I mean, it's so I couldn't tell if it was performance art or if they just were clueless of what there was going on. But I mean, there's a infamous match where I think it's Red Rooster and Ted DiBiase. It's in San Francisco, and there's some big ladies in the crowd, and Jesse goes, "I see now why they call it the Cow Palace." It's similar. It's a similar approach here. And they won the Snickers contest to come to WrestleMania. And yeah, Grisham interviews him, and he's like, "How?" But the way he says it is like it's up there with Brother Love saying Dusty Rhodes loads Sapphire into the pickup truck. He's like, "How many Snickers did you put down to get here?" It's like, and then they're 11. So there you go. They ate 11 Snickers, and here we are. It's great. It's kind of a forgotten absurd Mania moment.
And our last one is we get Orange Vince praying with the family.
Yeah, so stupid. And it's also foreshadowing some ridiculous stuff to come.
Yeah.
All right, 8 for rewatchability, super rewatchable match. I want to check quick too, because I want to see if this is a record. It may be for all-time matches. We have a lot of 2. Scanning. Oh, we have one other one. Takeover New York and Money in the Bank 11. So this is the 3rd time, Marcus, we've had 3 all-time matches on a card. Wow. So Money in the Bank, Edge Foley, Michaels McMahon. We both all have 4 1/4 or higher. And the main event just misses. We're double 4s on that. So, and I'm low on Mickey Trish. That could have been a 5th. I mean, this had 5 legitimate potential.
Yeah.
I'm sure New York probably had at least one that you screwed him out of with Gargano or something. So, all right, here we go. Brings us to a final total war score. If you've been tallying along with us, you know it's a big one. Atmosphere through the roof, in-ring through the roof, moments, rewatchability. Gives us a final total score of 56.5 points.
All right.
Is now our 2nd all-time show behind One Night Stand, which is at an absurd 79. So you could argue this is really our best show. It is 10 points higher than 3rd place, which is SummerSlam 05. And 12.5 over Rumble 2002. So best Mania, right? It's 17 better than WrestleMania 7, which was our previous high Mania. But this season, Marcus, has 4 of the top 6 shows that we've done. One Night Stand, SummerSlam 05, WrestleMania 22, and Vengeance 05 are all in the top 6. Just from the season that we've covered here. Calendar year of 05, you'd have to take Mania out. Calendar year 05, we also had Rumble 05 at 13th. So calendar year also has, 4 of the top 12 or whatever it is, top 13 in the calendar year. So I'm here to say 05 into early 06 this season is like low-key iconic. I mean, it's one of the greatest stretches in company history. I was looking for WrestleMania 21. I thought we had that high too. Am I missing it? Oh yeah, that's at 15. That's at 15. Yeah. So of the top 15, 05 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 of the top 15 are in 05, and 4 of the top 6 are the 05-06 season. So, I mean, for us, it's the best season to date.
Yeah,
for sure. It's pretty wild when you look at it. So were you surprised that 22 is that high?
So I'm going to call this our Shane Carwin show. Okay. You remember back at UFC, Brock Lesnar, he's on his world title run, and he looks pretty unstoppable, right? Mm-hmm. And then he goes up against Shane Carwin, and Shane Carwin clips him, and Brock's in trouble, and you're like, uh-oh, I can kind of see the blueprint has been set on how to beat Brock. Now, the fight doesn't get stopped, and Brock ends up winning, but the blueprint was kind of set, right? And then Brock loses shortly thereafter. I feel like the blueprint has been set on how to topple One Night Stand for this project. It's going to be a big undertaking. It's going to take a almost perfect show. There's going to need to be tons going on, but I think the blueprint has been set, because I think you're going to have other shows even before this project, shows like WrestleMania 17, 19, the other ones we haven't gotten to yet, already better than this one. And that's without going through our formula here. So you're telling me there's a chance. I think there's a chance. I wouldn't say One Night Stand is safe.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a Herculean effort. because even this is like iconic for us, and it's still 20 plus behind One Night Stand. But some of the ones you named definitely have a chance. I mean, you need to have a total package to beat it. Like, you're going to have great matches, quality builds, loaded with moments and atmosphere. Moments when all the shows at the top, when you look at them for us, are all carried by big things happening and wild atmospheres. Those are what carries these shows for us. So that's what you need to really contend. As a season, this is definitely our best by average score, but it's a little narrow. So added up every war score from every show. It is the best cumulative score. So it's 394.5. Our previous high was 365.75, and that's 0102, but this has 3 more shows. So, okay. But the average score of the 15 shows in this season is 26.3 average war score per show. And 0102 was 26.1. So it's close. These are our 2 best seasons. So this edges it out on the back of these 2. Now, it's a great season top to bottom. Mania and One Night Stand really are the 2 that kind of, I think, carried it to that level because the numbers are so astronomically high. It tells you how good 0102 was. That it's with these 2 at the top and 4 of the top 6. 0102 is right on its heels. So it's 0102 is very consistent. The problem with 0506, there are some dogs in here that really dragged it down. Whereas 0102 didn't really have any dogs. So, some of those ones in the fall were a little bit better or the Rumble performed well. Like we could really set the bar super high. So it's a fantastic season. It was one that I think I knew would be good. I didn't expect it to be like iconically good. I mean, to have this many hits is wild. Any final thoughts before we get to the awards?
Great season, man. And, with where we're at now in WWE in 2024, it kind of feels like it's been a while since WWE was really good. I'm not saying it's a perfect product, but, they're pretty hot right now. And that's because there are, a lot of good things going on. But it kind of like throws me back to this time. WWE was really good. And of course, there's some bad on the card. There's things you can take away. The week-to-week TV isn't perfect. But the pay-per-views just, we got all-timers here. It delivers. The product is really good. There are things that happen that don't even feel like WWE, like that hardcore match. There's just stuff. It's like, RVD finally winning Money in the Bank, and it kind of, okay, they're going to run with them.
Right.
Just things you wouldn't expect. You're not accustomed
and
to.
And ECW coming back is like a crazy thing too. That's still to come.
Yeah.
Real world aside, you wonder where things go without the Benoit stuff because it really derails them, and it takes a bit to bounce back. And 08 ends up being pretty good. But you really wonder what things would have been if they would have just kind of kept chugging with what they had going on. The Linda thing is the other one, right? The Senate run. If that doesn't happen, you kind of wonder how things go as well. But it's an interesting time for sure. But this stretch is pretty cool. It was a fun season to relive. All right, let's get to our awards. We gave this guy the MVP because it may be his only time. There's maybe one other season. I would argue it's a second best season or year of all time. I think we'll see when we get to 2000, 2001 is probably going to be his best. But this is up there, and that's Triple H. I mean, he's got a ton of bangers in this season. He's kind of out of the world title picture once he gets past Batista until Mania. Puts over Batista strong. Puts over Cena strong here. Does the job in the Rumble. Has a great series with Flair. He didn't really have any stinkers. Even the match at Big Show was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, he had a great season.
Yeah. He's not perfect this season. Would have liked to see, a different match at Backlash with Batista, but like for the most part,
the time off helps him. The time off, he takes that little break. So that kind of takes him out of SummerSlam and a couple other things, but it gives a little breather for him.
Yeah. Yeah. So he carried the season. There's some other guys that had really good seasons like Edge, like Cena. Batista, I think, was on an MVP trajectory before the injury. Angle, of course. But yeah, Triple H takes it. It's good to see him get one. We'll see how many other he can rack up.
Yeah, even Orton had a really good season. Taker
Mhm.
had a pretty good season. So there was a lot of contenders for sure in this one. But yeah, Triple H was consistently great in everything he did, which is, you don't say it often. That said, our Silver Slugger is not Triple H. It is John Cena, 3.975 average match grade. It's not our best, but it's pretty high. It looks like it's our fourth best of all time, behind the War Raiders in NXT 18-19, Sami Zayn NXT 14-15, and The Rock 01-02. He's right ahead of Christian 11-12. So pretty good company there. And it was a pretty tight race. I think Triple H and Michaels, I believe, were both pretty close as well to Cena. I think they were right on his back.
Yeah.
Triple H was at 3.958. Michaels at 3.953. And Edge at 3.828. So, I mean, those four guys are splitting hairs. Like, they're super close to each other. We didn't even mention Michaels. He had a great season, too. So, he had the Hogan match. He had the this stuff here with Vince. Like, he had some really, really strong output as well. So, all right. Vince Scully Award for Best Announcer went with Taz. I mean, I don't think that's much of a surprise. He's amazing every time he's out there. I think Joey was close. Freak. I think he's a freak like me. I think Joey had a good case. I think in the non-Taz division, he probably would have done it because he came in and really bought in right away. He was great at One Night Stand as well. So, he kind of, it's just hard to beat Taz. Our Mendoza Award is Ashley Massaro, sadly, average match grade of 1.46. In these mid-2000s, the women really get kind of screwed because they're just never, again, put in a position to succeed. We saw Kelly in 11-12, Jackie, Stacy and Tori won it, and now Ashley has won it. So it sucks, but it's not our lowest. The Mountie and Hulk Hogan are both tied at 0.88. So Jackie at 0.67. So is what it is. Who do we have for LVP, Marcus? Because I think it's a little bit of a surprising one.
Yeah, I got two words for you. Matt Brigham Hardy.
Yeah. It is a tough season for old V1er. He's not there for most of it. And I would argue if he never came back, he would have been better off because the crowd pops for him were hot at like Backlash, at One Night Stand, at Vengeance. Like, the crowd was chanting for him. Comes back, has a great match at SummerSlam, but he looks to be like a bitch. Awesome match at Unforgiven. You're feeling good. He gets sent to SmackDown on the Homecoming show. And then in the shitter. He gets doesn't get the match at Taboo Tuesday for the tag. He hides from Undertaker Survivor Series. Gets mashed by JBL at Armageddon. He gets banged in the ass by Viscera in the Rumble. And then he's teaming with Tatanka. And he's kind of forgettable in Money in the Bank. So was he really the worst? No. But when you look at the potential he had, and for what a bitch he's made to look like by the end, I would argue he had the worst season of anybody.
Yeah, he got a lot of at bats.
Yes,
with runners on base, and he just struck out or grounded in double plays.
Yeah.
He again a couple good matches there with Edge, but
in the War Spirit, he's the guy you had the high expectations for that didn't deliver. Whereas, there might be other people that were worse, but you weren't expecting them to be an anchor. Whereas Matt Hardy coming back was a big deal, and within 3 months, he's trash. All right, best performance, man. There are some tough ones here because you get One Night Stand in there. You got SummerSlam with Shawn, who is great there. You get Flair and Triple H in those matches, but we ended up going with Edge and Foley at Mania. It's an epic match. It gives Foley his classic. It's the most violent match in Mania history. It just hits across the board, and they were both tremendous in it. So,
yeah. Now I'll have to ask our third man, Chad, where he has this on his 10-point scale. I'm genuinely curious because this one, at least for me, I thought this was, perfect. It was just a great performance by everybody involved. And shout out Lita there too. She did a great job.
Oh yeah, she's a great piece. I mean, honestly, I'm going to add her because it was really the three of them. I mean, she's such a big part of the package at this point, and she takes that nasty mandible claw.
Yeah.
All right, Rookie of the Year. Who do we got?
Not a ton of choices. We had Bob Lashley, Ken Kennedy, but we ended up giving it to Mickie James.
Yeah, she really grabbed it and took hold here. But she rookie of the year for us is you couldn't have been on any pay-per-views prior to the season beginning. So Mickey debuted in the season. Doesn't have a ton on the resume, but WrestleMania alone, I think, gets her over the hump over Lashley and Kennedy. Finley hadn't done a ton yet, so like there was some other options, but although Eminem, had they debuted? I guess they debuted in the season, right?
They did, yeah.
So they could have been in the running too. I think Mickey probably still wins. Eminem was great, but they got beat down way more than they should have as well. So, all right. Most main events was John Cena with 5. Not as much as you would have thought, honestly. Most matches won was John Cena with 8. So a lot of winning in the season. And most title matches, John Cena with 10. So looking at that, you may say Cena probably should have been MVP. But I think Triple H had the higher end matches to carry him over Cena. Cena didn't have those matches. Kurt Angle lost the most matches. Kind of sad. 6 losses. Best crowd is a tough one, Marcus. I think you had some really elite crowds in the season. I mean, we just talked about how awesome Mania was. It's a fantastic atmosphere. Great American Bash was sneaky good.
Yeah.
SummerSlam was good. Survivor Series was pretty good. Vengeance was good. Like a lot of really good crowds, but there's only one that could have been.
Yep. Goes to ECW One Night Stand, New York City.
Yeah, it was iconic. I mean, it had it locked up from the start. All right, here's our all-star team. Obviously, our MVPs on there, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle, John Cena, and Edge. All were fantastic in the season. All could have won MVP easily. It was just a lot of studs all through the season. That's not even naming some of the other guys, like a Batista. Benoit had a good season. Like, there's a lot of other guys that were in the mix.
Yeah. Our all-loser team, JT, who do we got?
We have Matt freaking Hardy, Chavo Guerrero / Kerwin White, just no bueno, and he's part of all the nonsense with Ray. Orlando Jordan just really bogged down the U.S. title picture all summer. Eric Bischoff, I thought, had a very weak season. He had the stupid stuff with Teddy Long, got thrown in the dumpster. Was a catalyst in the Cena, Jericho, and the Angle stuff, which was heavy-handed. So he's in his Burt Reynolds era here, but and I like Bischoff as a GM, but I thought he had a down season. Yeah, and then we ended up going Boogeyman. Boogeyman had some, he really killed Armageddon, and then kind of some of the weaker stuff after that. We could have put Ashley in here, but again, I don't think it's her fault. I don't think she deserves to be put there, after she got put in spots that she shouldn't have been in. It was tough. Like, there wasn't a lot of bad in the season. I think we debated Ray, honestly. But he's got the Eddie feud, which is really good. And he has the big moment at Mania. So we won't diminish him too much, but I think he at least was in the conversation for some of the way the Eddie stuff went. So, all right. So that's our awards. That is our season. Again, it's a great one. Relive it sometime if you're looking for something to binge through. There's some real classics in there, something you may not have expected. All right, Marcus, we're going to fast forward a bit for our next season, but it'll be a good one. I'm excited for it for sure. We're going to start that in 2 weeks. We'll surprise you then. Be sure to check out everything in North-South Connection. Subscribe, podcast feed on any podcast application, YouTube for video, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook for social media, and beyond. Share the love. We appreciate all the support here. Another season in the books. It was a very nice episode. We're going to wrap things up, continue to live your life above replacement level, and hopefully you find yourself in a great position in the years to come. Take care. Talk to you in 2 weeks.